Hey, what is up guys, and welcome to my channel and for a new build for Stranger Paradise. I've been asked many times on my videos to do a build for Evoker, so I finally got around to experimenting with everything that this job has to offer, and I gotta say I was very surprised with how good the job really is. This one bird is far better than literally all your party members combined. All your allies are totally useless on their own. They just make fights worse in my opinion. Just look here and they can hardly kill anything. Then we have this bird who literally makes every fight so much easier. I can't even explain to you how good this little guy is. Just using one ability and it sucks all the enemies around it like a freaking black hole. You see these annoying bats trying to jump on you all at once?
Nope.
Yeah, that ain't happening at all. I would really like to see if those party members could handle all these enemies so easily. This bird is clearly the best ally you can ever get in the game. So let's get right into the build. Alrighty, so the main job we are going to be using is the Evoker, and the secondary we once again keep it to the Shadow Master class on the Ninja. Ninja is mostly going to be used so we can easily get to max MP at the start of every fight, and to get all our buffs, and using one of his tools which will allow us to tank 3 attacks from the enemies. For this build, the affinities you will need on the Ninja is 400% Void Knight, so we get really cheap command abilities. Then we get 250% on our Samurai to get bonus damage on Chain Cancel. 120% on our Summoner is what we use to get to that max MP. And finally 120% on your White Mage so we get longer buff durations. That is once again all you need for a Ninja. So let's now have a look at our main Evoker. We are going to be using the Arcanist class on the Evoker, and it doesn't really matter which one you really go for. This class will just allow you to soul burst enemies if you break them or reduce them to 0 HP with the bird's shockwave. Before we go any further, let me just go over all the things that the bird can do that you may not be aware of. While the bird is active, you cannot use the command abilities. But what you can do is always switch jobs if you ever wanted to use those command abilities again. Switching jobs while the bird is active will not make it disappear. The bird will remain active even if you switch jobs. So anytime you need to reset your command abilities, always switch jobs. The bird has 4 abilities: Blast Wave, Interrupt, Heal, and the best one of all is the Shackle. Upon using any one of these abilities, the bird will lose health. If the bird's health reaches 0, it will no longer be active and you will need to spend your MP to get it back up. But what the game doesn't tell you is that when you soul burst enemies, the bird regains health. You can keep the spirit active the whole time if you constantly soul burst enemies. Let's just go over all the bird's skills really quickly. Blast Wave is pretty simple, it will just release a shockwave around the bird. It won't do much damage at all even on some of the smaller enemies. But with the class we are using, if an enemy is broken, you can use the Blast Wave so you can easily soul burst them. It's still not very viable as it uses up a lot of HP for not much gain. The Interrupt skill is the best for bossing. It will drastically slow down the enemy's movement speed. Much like how we get the Haste ability which will increase our attack speed, this Interrupt skill adds a negative haste on the enemies, reducing both their movement and attack speed. It doesn't last long and uses up a lot of HP on your bird, so use it wisely. The heal skill is pretty simple, it will heal you as long as you stay near the bird for the duration of the ability. It uses up a big 50% of your spirit's HP and can regen quite a lot of health on your character. Then we have the best skill, which is the Shackle. This single skill makes every fight so much easier. It sucks in all the enemies around the spirit in an extremely large radius. Any enemy other than bosses are able to get sucked right in. What's even better is that when the skill is used and if you are locked onto the enemies, the bird will always fly all the way behind the enemy and use the Shackle. Regardless of where the bird is, if you use Shackle, it will always fly behind the enemy and use its ability. All the other abilities like the Interrupt, Heal, and the Shockwave will always get used where the bird is positioned, except the Shackle. If you want to use the Blast Wave or the Interrupt, it's always best to shackle the enemies first so the bird is always behind the enemy, even if it's for bossing as well. You can see here that the spirit is so far away on the left, and even just activating Shackle from all the way over there, it is still able to pull the big guy towards it. It's surely an amazing skill. That's basically all you need to know about the spirit. Keep soul bursting enemies so the spirit can regain its health and always be active. Now let's have a look at the affinities we use for the Evoker. We get 400% on our Dark Knight so we can have all our near death effects active all the time. We also get 400% on our Breaker, so every time we use soul burst, we will get a damage boost as well. Then finally, it's important to get 250% on our Dragoon, so whenever we kill enemies with our abilities, it will automatically soul burst them. Those are the only important ones, then any other affinities that can give you bonus strength will be good to have. Now for the weapons, I have two really good weapons that you can use for this build. One is the Thor's hammer and the other is the staff. The Thor's hammer with the setup that we have can literally destroy bosses in a single hit. The lacerate ability is what's important. Charging this all the way up is totally insane. With the help of our spirit to shackle the enemies and interrupt them, you can always get the killing blow with this weapon. The only downfall to using this weapon is that it costs 2 bars of MP to use, and sometimes it just tends to miss the enemies entirely. Still, it's a great weapon if you can play with it correctly. Then my favorite is the staff. I'm not even going to try pronouncing the name of the staff, but what you want to look for in this weapon is the Flash of Steel and the Arcane Blade skill, but mostly the Flash of Steel. Since we use Shackle, the staff is totally ridiculous. The range on these abilities is crazy. You can see that when I used the Shackle all the way over here, I was still able to hit the water elemental with this attack. The range on the staff is just insane. No need to get close to the enemies, but the only downfall to using the staff is that it can be a little difficult to kill bosses. The stats that you want to get across all your gear pieces is strength, near death damage dealt, and damage dealt at max HP. These stats will work for any of the two weapons that you wish to use, so choose whichever weapon that you like. For the combined abilities, we always need Lunatic to increase our attack speed. Then we have Mighty Strikes for increased damage. Then there's a choice of what you would like. You can use Summon Tachi if you plan on using the staff. Use the Seal of Blood to easily one-shot the bosses with your Thor's hammer. Or you can even use Lancet as it can help on the hammer as it's very MP extensive. Here's a look at the master points I used for the Evoker. That is it for all the weapons and gear pieces that you will need for this build. The affinities are really important, and especially the 250% on a Dragoon. Soul bursting enemies will not only help with the MP gain, but it will also make sure that the spirit never dies out. Use the Shackle ability as much as you can. All the enemies will get sucked right into it and won't be able to do a single thing. The enemies however can still attack you, but will never get past the Shackle from the spirit. If it's an enemy with ranged attacks, then yes, it can still hit you. But any melee enemies will never get through the Shackle. For an overall great build, it's best to use the hammer. Its damage is totally ridiculous and can take out bosses a lot more easily than the staff. The spirit by far exceeds any of the other allies that you can take in with you. Even if you don't want to use it as your main job, the Evoker makes for a good secondary job as well. Since the spirit remains active even after switching jobs, you can always use the Shackle ability and switch out and do damage in any other way that you like as well. This little guy is going to come in really handy for those new Chaos monsters and the Gilgamesh difficulty coming in the new DLC. It is going to be a great help to always have the spirit be able to shackle the enemies, and if the spirit is able to shackle those new Chaos monsters as well, then the Evoker is going to be one of those jobs that will be really handy to always have as a secondary. Hope you guys enjoyed the build. I was definitely playing with this class wrong before when I tried to make the spirit super strong, but it's just not made for that. It's a really powerful support and just does wonders when you're fighting mobs and even bosses. What did you guys think of this build? Let me know. I would love to hear from you all. I will catch you all next time.